I think that I knew I was different, that there was something different about me. And it wasn't just tennis and it wasn't just politics, but there was something that was different. It was scary to think that I might be a lesbian or even bisexual or anything like it, because society just totally, you were an outcast. What would my family do? What would my friends think? Would I be able to continue to do research in education? So would I have a livelihood? What would it mean? And you have to work through all that. So I went to high school in 1966, Students for Democratic Society, called SDS, which is it actually was started on the campus at Brown, and became a national movement of college students against the war. That was broader than just my high school. I organized high school students around the Chicago area. And we organized demonstrations, we organized teach-ins and sit-ins, and I got suspended for a few days for carrying a Vietnamese flag draped coffin through the high school. At Stanford, in the School of Education, I was in a doctoral program right out of college in psychological studies and education. They weren't interested. They just were not interested. So that's how when I took a leave, it's when the BA program in women's studies started at San Francisco State, and I interviewed for it and got that job. Women's ability to control their own bodies is really has been crucial to them becoming independent of any sort. I mean, when I was growing up, couldn't have credit cards in our own name. I couldn't open a bank account without your father's or your husband's permission. In 1986, there was a decathlon gold medalist named Tom Waddell. When he came out, they stripped him of his gold medals. He loved sports and he loved competition, and he, with some other folks around him, launched the first gay games. Softball was always really big. There was a tennis league, there were basketball leagues, there were a lot of gay sports leagues all over the world. It was originally called the Gay Olympics, but the U.S. Olympic Committee sued Tom personally. It was like somehow we tainted the Olympics by having a gay Olympics and using that word. It was unimaginably cruel. And in 86, the games happened again in San Francisco. And in 85, I hurt my back and I had to have back surgery. And my rehab goal was to play tennis in the gay games in 86. And so that's what I did. My best friend, Peggy, who came to watch me, and it was right after I'd won a gold medal in women's doubles. I won a bronze medal in mixed doubles and a gold medal in women's doubles.
And here comes the National March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights.
I found my application to the March Committee, the 1987 March on Washington Committee. I'm extremely interested in being part of building this national march. It comes at what I believe is a critical juncture for the lesbian gay movement, a juncture in which not only our civil liberties, but our lives are at stake. Heading into the 1988 elections and hopefully an end to the Reagan era, we have new opportunities to place the issues of lesbian gay rights on the national agenda.
They marched for miles, not 100,000 people, which the government estimated would participate, not 200,000 people, which the U.S. Park Service would admit to. No, the official figure, reported by CBS News the day after the event, was 650,000 people, a figure greater than Martin Luther King's famous March for Civil Rights back in 1963.
I mean, I think back on that and go, what made me do that? Think I could do that? I'd never been to Washington. I'd never organized a national march. We're in the middle of the AIDS epidemic. What the hell made me think I could do that? And partly because I had some confidence in myself. I had to have had to be able to do that. But I also knew that there were people that I could ask for help.
Our compassion, even with AIDS, you must not surrender in your wheelchairs. I see you sitting here tonight in those wheelchairs. I've stayed with you. I've reached out to you across our nation, and don't you give up. I know it's tough sometimes. People look down on you.
You know, he really helped elevate the national conversation about HIV/AIDS, and it made a difference. So that's probably, I think you asked me last week, like one of the proudest things I've done. That is one of the proudest things I've done, is really made a difference nationally by being his advisor on lesbian and gay rights and organizing these kinds of things. So I was very proud of it. I had a really, really close friend named Tanya Neiman. She is somebody who was so inspiring to me. And she's the first woman I know of my age group who got breast cancer. And for her 30th birthday, there was a wild party up in the Oakland Hills, and there was a sheet cake. And on the sheet cake was an Amazon with one breast cut off with a bow and arrow. And that's how she approached life. She lived for 9 years with stage 4 ovarian cancer because she was just determined to live. And I think both Cheryl and I were inspired by her, and part of how we led our lives when Cheryl had cancer was homage to how Tanya led her life. And Cheryl drilled through my resistance of going into a new relationship, given the explosive end to my last one. She made me laugh. She refused to take my lefty politics too seriously, and we never ran out of things to talk about. Her friends were worried I was too political. My friends worried she wasn't political enough, but none of that mattered. There was a connection, and it only got more real over time. And then I said to my wife, we have to get married. And she was like, I don't want to do it just as a political statement. And she said, I want a party. I want Gavin Newsom to marry us. and I want something shiny in a blue box. And I took care of all three things. But then Cheryl got sick, and life changes and you roll with the punches. I believe that when you die, there's still something that remains. Cheryl's soul exists somewhere and somehow. I mean, I think I am a strong person. I have been most of my life, and I think I'm pretty resilient. And I was total. What I said to myself is that I'm strong, and I'm resilient, and I'm totally overwhelmed. And all those things were true. I mean, that's when you really, at the ripe age of, well, I'm 69 now. I feel like I've always tried to grasp the complexity of the world, and particularly in terms of politics, and not being an absolutist one way or another. But the complexity of this, and of grief and mourning, and allowing me to feel, allowing people to see what I'm feeling, has kind of given complexity a whole new meaning, a whole new depth of meaning.